All right, everybody. First and foremost, welcome to episode 7 of Super Metroid Strat Chat. I am one of your hosts, Kipp. My other host is True Moss. True Moss, are you there?
I'm here, Kipp.
All right. Say something again real quick. I need to make sure that I've got everything set up properly.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Strat Chat.
All right, cool. Thank you. So, guys, real quick, the mic is choppy. Okay. I was just about to say we're having a lot of new stuff tonight and a lot of new stuff in OBS, so it might take me a little bit to get everything working properly. So give me 1 second. I'm going to reset this mic and see if it works a little better. Moss, why don't you tell us the story real quick about what happened to you in your RBO run real quick?
Great. I can't wait. I cannot wait to tell this story. Some of you have probably already heard this because I'm telling it to anyone who will hear it. But I had a horrible RBO experience yesterday. So I was 5 minutes and 30 seconds below my PB time, and I died in the escape, which I didn't know was actually something anyone has. I don't think anyone's ever died in the escape before, but I died in the escape. To explain what happened, I've never practiced the escape without gravity suit before, because every category I run, you have gravity suit in the escape. So I bonked the door going into the climb, and so I didn't get my charge for the Shine Spark properly. And I just thought, okay, I'll just turn around and charge, the other way and Shine Spark up after I've charged. And I forgot that in the acid rises up, and if you have gravity suit on, or if you don't have gravity suit, then you can't get a short charge. And by the time that I realized this, trying to jump up the platforms while you're underwater is, it's not very easy, especially if you've never tried to climb up the climb on the platforms with the acid, going up. And also, I just destroyed the run. So it's a testament to reverse boss order. That route will kill you even after you have beaten the game. So it's a real shame, but it's a learning experience.
Yeah.
I'll never make that mistake again.
So real quick,
anyone who's starting to learn reverse boss order, if you bonk the door going into that room, just start wall jumping up. Don't try to short charge back. It's a bad idea.
All right, can you hear me, Moss? I don't think he can. Can you guys hear me?
Oh, it looks like Kipp's still having some choppy problems, or maybe am I choppy? I'm the only one that's talking right now.
Y'all can hear me in the stream, right? So at this point, it's still choppy. It sounds like True Moss can't hear me. I'm not really sure why that is. Okay.
Yeah, Kipp, I don't even hear you in Discord anymore.
Okay. I don't know why my microphone would be acting weird at this exact moment, whereas before in the past it's never had any issue. Okay.
All right, well, stick with it, guys. We'll we might have to do we might just have to shut down the stream or something. We'll see.
Okay, so real quick,
I'll take this moment. I want to thank let's thank Kona. Kona just designed this new overlay, the new setup, and it looks fantastic. So big shout outs to Kona for doing that. Thank you so much. It looks fantastic. Hey. Okay, great. So Kipp's gonna try to fix these issues. I'm gonna just start interviewing Sloaters right away. Then, Sloaters, can you hear me?
Loud and clear, Moss.
Great. Everyone, let me know if Sloaters is coming through. Okay. How are you doing tonight?
I am doing pretty well. How are you doing?
I've been better, but based on the story you've just heard, things could be better. But um, you know, life moves on. Thanks so much for coming on. First of all,
Yeah, thank you guys for having me. I've been looking forward to doing this.
great. As everyone can see on the stream, we've got Sloater's big times up posted right now. He's been running since early 2016, and if you look at his numbers, there's some pretty impressive times here. His lowest time is he's a 20. At worst, he's 22nd in a category, which is pretty impressive. So congratulations to you to start with that.
Yeah, thank you.
I think the first thing we should probably just jump into is we got to talk about your any percent time, because this is a recent achievement for you. You were in somewhere in the 45s, I think, previously, right?
Yeah, I had a 45 with the old route for a long time, and then I kind of started putting in like some new route runs, and after a while, I beat my old route PB by just a few seconds and was pretty close to that 44 mark.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I hear you.
Mm-hmm.
Sounds fine to me. But this is on Discord. It may not be the same over.
Yeah, let me just check, guys. I'm gonna try to see if I fixed the issue. I don't know if I did, but just type in the chat and let me know if it still sounds choppy. And if it does, then I don't know what else I'm gonna be able to do at the moment, other than I guess reboot or something. But yeah. So I think True Moss is still choppy. That's so weird. All right, it must be an OBS issue because it sounds fine on Discord. So anyway, I apologize. But Sloaters and True Moss, y'all continue, and I'll keep working on it, and I'll be back in a second.
Okay, sure. Tell us a little bit about that run. Like I know that you have sort of spent a lot of time working back on old route, and someone lit a fire under you to go back into new route. So why don't you talk a little bit about why you've switched over?
Well, my old route PB was pretty much like a god run for myself. I just like almost everything went right in that run, and it's something I still don't feel like I can really improve for a while. But I knew if I put together the god run for a new route run, it would certainly be a 44. And I really wanted to beat Gallo's time because him and I have been kind of competitive with the old route for a while, and he has a pretty good new route time as well.
Yeah.
And then you also beat me to a 44. I think you got 44:51 or something like that.
Like that, yeah.
Yeah, and so after you got that, I said, well, I gotta try to Bob Moss now.
Yeah, so I feel a little personally targeted, actually, to be honest. I have not bopped Sloaters for more than like 2 days before he's bopped me back. In the low percent ice example, I was up on you in low percent for maybe 8 hours, and then you came right back and bopped me again. So I'm taking it a little bit personally, to be honest.
Well, you know what? Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
I'd like to say I'd like to say that I feel targeted because both of y'all came after my low ice time first. So, and I'm sure both of y'all are going to go after my RBO time as well. So, I think all three of us. Okay, now it sounds good. So I think all three of us are in what you would call a nice triangle of competition, where hopefully we're at least pushing each other along in some category or the other. Clearly, I'm the worst of the three, but at least I have one category.
Yeah, like you're always the one that's starting the new trend. You start doing low ice, and all of a sudden there's a wave of people that are into doing low ice then.
While that is technically and statistically true, it's also kind of funny because every time that happens, I always think like, oh, everybody just thinks, oh, if that guy can do it, then clearly I can go in and get a faster time. So, but anyway, Sloaters, we're talking about your times and stuff. You've been back and forth bopping several people, which I'd like to point out is like really crazy how quickly you've improved a bunch of your times. The any percent one recently, what is it currently, a 44:21? Mm-hmm. Can you talk us through that run for a minute? Like, what was that run like? What do you feel like was the best parts of it, or what went more right than normal? Because it seems like that's just a ludicrously good run.
The funny thing about that run is it was just like completely random. because the time I got before that, it was like a 44, 49 or something like that. And I was like grinding for what felt like almost like a month, just like doing resets at Phantoon, doing resets at Gravity, and I just like could not like get this 44 that I wanted. And the other day I was kind of like doing some D-Rust Hundo runs, and I got a PB. First I got a series PB on a Hundo run, and then that same run I got that 121.33. And then so I was kind of just relaxing after that. I said, well, how about I just do a kind of a casual new route run and see what happens. And I got a really good Phantoon, got a really good lower Norfair, and all of a sudden I'm looking at like a low 44 new route.
Dude, that's insane. Well, I've mentioned this to you personally, and I've mentioned it on my stream before, but I'd like to formally say it on the Strat Chat. This is a really special episode for me personally, because when I first got started, you and True Moss were two of the people that like took a lot of time to help me. Like I'd come and watch y'all streams and ask a bunch of questions, and y'all would answer them and give me all these like different strats and stuff like that. So this is really cool. I lovingly refer to both you guys as senseis for me. So it's really cool to see, even in the last 3, 4, 5 months, how far both of you guys have pushed your times. I mean, to get like Moss mentioned earlier, you have a 121.33 and 100%, and that's literally of the 5 sort of main categories that I put up here. That's the worst one, and even that one is absolutely sick. Like you're top 10 or top 15 in just about every other category. So what for you has gone into the insane improvement that you've had in the last 4, 5, 6 months? I mean, I know it's just practice, but how have you sort of approached your improvement over time?
I mean, that's a tough question. Really, I feel like I've just kept my expectations like really reasonable. Like when I first started running this game, I knew I wanted to get like a sub 50, but I was never like I wasn't trying to get there too quickly. I kind of took my time, and like you talk about this, I hear you talk about this like all the time on these strat chats, and I'm really glad you do. And like it's so important to strike a balance between like sitting in your comfort zone and pushing yourself outside your comfort zone. And ultimately you just have to have fun with it and not push yourself too hard, but then realize you do need to push yourself sometimes in order to start shaving off some seconds on your times.
That's a great point. Cool. So talk to us a little bit. Let's have some fun here. Like I've got the 5 categories listed that I guess technically have sort of like the most competition, but you have times in other categories and stuff too. But of the 5 that I've got listed, the 4 sort of major, no major glitches plus GT Classic, which of those 5 is your personal, like, not necessarily most proud time, but just like your favorite category to run? And can you tell us a little bit about why you enjoy it?
I think I'd have to say any percent, just because it's what I started with, and it's definitely the category I've invested the most time into. I definitely feel like I know a lot more about that category than any of the other ones, and it's just kind of like nostalgic for me. It was really the one, like I really learned the game kind of naturally. I didn't really watch any tutorials or anything. I just kind of did my own thing, and I started watching people on Twitch and trying to do the things that they did. But I know you love low percent ice too, and that's another category that I've really come to enjoy, because that one's just so satisfying to get a complete run through.
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, I didn't even think about it till just now, but I'm glad that you mentioned it, because I got to give you a shout out. You and I talked about this before. We've had 2 Super Metroid relays in 2017, and we were brothers on the RBO during the summer one, and we were brothers on the low ice one in the winter one. So it was always fun to run up against you. And for everybody who might not know the story, I just like for everyone to understand that Sloaters is the official, I don't care what anybody else says, he's the official crab climb guy. So can you tell us a little bit about that one?
Well, the crab climbing came from the first relay we participated in, where we did RBO, and I don't know what route you did, but I did like the double Meridia route.
Right.
And the first time I went in there, I was just having like the most difficult time in the suitless section. And at one point I was going back to get the crab supers, and I just had such a brain fart. Like I I could not. I missed the hole getting into crab supers, and I was like trying to make my way back up there. And instead of like going around and climbing back up on the platforms around there and jumping in the hole, I was like trying to like freeze this crab that was moving up the wall, and it was just so slow, and like the whole chat is just like, what is this guy doing? And then like it just took off from there.
And what he's really trying to say, everybody, is that he was so embarrassed that it fueled him to practice super hard for the next 6 months, and that's why he has all the times. Is that really the real story, Sloaters?
Pretty much, yeah.
I'm just kidding. So, Moss, I'm going to turn it over to you for a couple questions, and then we'll come back and we'll talk about the tournament that's happening right now.
Okay, terrific. So what's next on the menu for you? I mean, I'm assuming you're going to put in more time on Hundo, but is there anything else that you're thinking about?
Yeah, Hundo is definitely the next one on the list. It's probably the one I've paid the least attention to of all those categories, and just seeing, that one being the only one that's not under the 20 mark, it's like I gotta try to improve that one.
Yeah, sure. So what's going into it right now? Is it just are you just working on improving or are you planning to just work on improving the stuff you already know, or are you going to go back through it and do a whole relook at the strats that you're doing currently? What's your plan?
I definitely need to relook through a lot of the strats. A lot of them I've just been kind of winging. There's some like spring ball stuff I've been looking at a lot, just because I really love spring ball, and I try to get out like all those swag strats in my runs, but I haven't been able to like actually go through and like study any runs or anything like that yet. So I'll definitely want to be taking a much closer look at the category to see if I can get, I don't know, like a sub true moss or something on the leaderboards.
I knew you were going to say that too. I knew it.
Moss, you better stop running RBO right now and go have another look at your Hundo time, because if Sloater says he's coming for it, it's definitely going to happen.
Yeah, well, my plan is to get, after I do finish this RBO stuff, I think I'm going to push for a 118 in Hundo. It won't keep Sloaters back for long, but we'll see. So are you planning to do, are you going to jump into, actually, I'm not sure if you do early croc or late crockemeyer for Hundo.
I do early croc, yeah. Okay,
so are you planning to ever make a switch over?
Not anytime soon. I feel like I can just still save so much time using that route, because what is it, like 20 or 30 seconds or something like that if you get lucky with the late croc route?
Yeah, so I think it's about that. That's right.
So Sloaters, let's transition a little bit here to the tournament, okay? We're currently, as of tomorrow, going to be ending, round 2 of the Super Metroid multi-category tournament. And for anybody who's unaware, Sloaters is actually the #1 seed for the tournament. Now, there's a few things that went into that. It was based off of SRL ranking, but at the same time, everybody who's sitting here looking at your your times and your rankings right now is clearly going to be able to see that you're one of the favored runners in the whole tournament. So let's talk about it in 2 facets. First of all, being the #1 seed, you actually ended up being ranked #1 on SRL. I think maybe like 2 or 3 months ago or 4 months ago. Was that something that you specifically, had a goal for? Like, hey, I want to do as many races as possible and see how far I can get up that, or was it just something that kind of naturally happened?
Yeah, it kind of was. I managed to get #1 a few months ago, I think, but then after some item randomizer matches and like forfeiting some any percent weeklies, I kind of dropped down a bit. But it's SRL leaderboards. It's not like the most important thing, but it's kind of neat seeing yourself #1 on there.
Absolutely, because I remember there was a good joke, because I believe Behemoth was #1 before you took it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so clearly now you must be better than Behemoth. So
obviously, I mean, I'm #1 on SRL. What more do you need?
Exactly. But so as the #1 seed, though, it's not like there's any pressure, because nobody's really paying that much attention to seed. But it does mean that you're one of the top players. What are your goals for the tournament? I mean, I know everybody just wants to have fun, but are you trying to win? Like, what would be like at least a certain threshold for you where you would feel like, yeah, I at least kind of gave it my best shot and had some success?
I think top 8 for sure is like the minimum thing I want, because looking at all the people that are in there, there's like well over 8 people who I would say can like qualify for top 8. So it's like just making it there would be awesome. Like I know if I get matched up with like, one of those dozen guys that are at really good times in all the categories, it's like anything can happen there. So top 8 for sure, I'd be pretty happy with.
Awesome. Yeah, I feel that. Tell us a little bit about racing in general. Like, you have a lot of great times in Super Metroid, but you and I have discussed this a lot. Racing is different, right? So, how do you philosophically approach when you're in a Super Metroid race in different categories as opposed to when you're like grinding for PBs and stuff? What are some things that you do to kind of ensure yourself to have the best performance possible?
Well, I've done a lot of the weekly races now in SRL, and a lot of times I kind of treat them sort of like PB attempts, but then when they go sour, as they usually do, I kind of have to slip back into that race mindset. But really, you just have to, you got to think about it's a race. You're not going for a PB, you can't reset. And it's important when you make a mistake not to dwell on it. You just need to react quickly and make any adjustments to make sure you don't die or lose a ton more time.
That's a good point. Cool.
I'd like to hear Kipp, Sloaters rather. Like, I'm not a huge race person. I'm much more into just, sitting, alone in my room and working on, bringing down my own personal time. But could you, maybe talk a bit about how working on races improves your ability as a Metroid runner and potentially as, being able to bring down your times when you are working on going for a PB?
That's a great question, yeah.
Well, when we're doing normal speed runs, a lot of times we're not happy with our runs and we reset really early, or we just give up really early. But the one nice thing about racing is that it really does force you to just go with the flow sometimes, and you would be surprised with the times you can get with a lot of mistakes really early in a run, and you don't get to see that all the time when you're resetting trying to reach a certain time or beat your PB. So I mean, there's definitely that. It certainly teaches you that a run's not over until it's over.
All right, so on to piggyback on that, tell me if you agree, and obviously you don't have to, but I've said this for a long time because I'm sort of averse to resetting, especially when I was first starting. But I feel very strongly that races and finishing runs are really good conditioning for when you actually have a PB pace, because you basically force yourself into these scenarios over and over again where you're completing the whole run and you're going through it. And even though we can sit around and practice all day on segments, that helps a ton. But when you're in the middle of a run, it's a little bit different of a mindset. You kind of have to control your nerves and stuff like that. So do you feel like doing these races and these competitions can actually sometimes benefit you when you're in the middle of, maybe mentality-wise, when you're in the middle of one of these, potential PB runs?
Definitely. A lot of people, they work on very small sections of a game at a time. They just go through one room or maybe one or two rooms. But when people ask me what I do for practice, I tell them a lot of times I just do kind of longer segments at a time. And just when in the race scenarios where you need to do the whole game at a time no matter what happens, it kind of gets you out of that mindset of doing things in practice and just doing a whole bunch of things all in a row and having to just accept what happens to you.
Yeah, that's a great word, accept. You just have to accept, because a lot of times, you can be on a PB run and then, obviously you're not going to get every strat, and then you mess something up, and then you have two choices. You can either let that get to you and just wreck the rest of your run, or you just got to move on, right? So I think that's a good training for that.
Well, I think another important point to that is that, it usually, if you're a big resetter, it means that you have a really good first 5 minutes, generally. Your ability to get through the first 5 minutes is really great. And then you get to, Norfair or, a harder section, and you just haven't put in as much time because you haven't gotten there as many times. I like to equate it to I'm a musician, Kipp's a musician. A lot of times if you're working on a really hard piece, what a lot of people do is if they have a big mistake, they just stop, go back to the beginning and start all over again. And it means that you get good at the first 8 bars, but then you get to the last couple of minutes of a piece, and it's sometimes a bit of a mess because you don't you don't spend anywhere near as much time on that last section. So yeah, finishing runs is definitely an invaluable thing to work on when you're trying to improve your time.
So while we're on the topic of races, Sloaters, you had a great performance in the Rando tournament that occurred, in the fall of 2017. And in particular, I don't know if you would agree with this, but I feel like your most iconic moment of the run was when, and I love this, I defended you fiercely in the chat when this happened, was you were racing against Farrell, and you didn't have gravity, and it looked like it was probably going to be a suitless seed, potentially. And so you just went ahead and went into Meridia suitless, went straight up to Botwoon with the plan, if I recall, you were just planning on going ahead and going through the whole thing suitless and not even worrying about it. And it turned out that gravity was at Botwoon, and then you ended up like going super fast and winning the race. And a lot of people were like, oh, that's crazy, he took a gamble. And I knew that it wasn't a gamble. Can you tell me a little bit about what that was like? And did you get really excited when you saw gravity there?
Yeah, honestly, like, you're absolutely right. Like, I was not gambling on gravity, like finding gravity. I was ready to go full suitless. And when I saw it there, like, I just could not believe it because, to be completely honest with you, I think Farrell was the toughest opponent I faced in that entire tournament. And the 2 matches I had against him, I just got so lucky with what happened. And if gravity was not in that spot, I don't know if that match would have, been so one-sided. But I honestly laughed out loud when I saw gravity there. I'm like, Farrell will not believe this. Like, he's gonna be so mad when he sees me finish.
That's funny, dude. Because we talked pretty extensively. I remember you and I had several days in a row where we were testing that out and talking about how much time does it really save to go find it somewhere else versus just doing it suitless. So I was really thrilled to see you put that in place in the middle of a run, and of course chat went nuts. But so I guess before we close out, Moss, you have any other questions? I've got one more to ask, but if you have anything you'd like to ask, go right ahead.
No, go ahead, Kipp.
Okay, so Sloaters, the main thing that I want to get from you is, and feel free to take your time, okay? You are well-versed in multiple categories, which I personally find very important. You clearly have excellent times, but you also know how to get better and how to improve, and you help a lot of people. So there are always new people, running the game or just trying to cut their time down. Even, I'm trying to cut my time, and I always ask you questions. Can you talk us through a little bit about, if you were talking to a brand new runner and they were interested in getting into the game, can you give some general words of advice for a good, mindset to have and certain, practice ideas or whatever? What would you tell a new runner to help them out?
Well, I kind of alluded to it earlier, and it sounds really cliche to say, but you just really need to have fun with it and go at your own pace. Because if you push yourself too hard, you say, oh, well, I want to get a world record, or I want to get top 10 time, The guys that are up there, that didn't happen overnight, and it took most of them years to get there. And I think it's really important just to know what you want to get and know how long it would reasonably take to get there. And if you're trying to reach a certain time and things aren't going well and you're getting really frustrated, it's all right to take a step back for a little bit or just kind of play a bit more casually for a while, as long as you're having fun with it. And if you continue to have fun with it, you will see improvements. But getting frustrated is it's not a healthy way to improve at the game.
That is an excellent point. Super Metroid is definitely a tilt-worthy game, but if you can control that, usually that leads to you performing better and getting faster times. So, well, awesome. Sloaters, thank you so much for coming on with us tonight and for everything that you do for the Super Metroid community. And best of luck not only in the tournament, but as you grind down some of your other times. If you would just do me a favor, could you just maybe not return to RBO for a little while?
Or Hundo, let me have that for a little while.
Yeah, I guess I'll hold back for a little bit on those two.
Thank you, I appreciate that. But anyway, dude, thank you so much. Have an excellent evening, and I'm sure we'll see you again soon, man.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys.
Bye.
Absolutely. All right, so I'm going to hang up real quick, and Moss, I'm going to call you back, and we'll get this Strat chat going.
Let's do it.
All right. All right, everybody. So let's move on to the strat portion. Tonight we're going to be talking about boss fights. Let me call Moss real quick here. All right, Moss, you there?
I am here. Let's do this thing.
All right, go ahead and share your screen with me. And I'm going to, once again, ladies and gentlemen, we have an excellent, we need to plug real quick. We mentioned it earlier in chat, but we need to plug Mr. Kona Chocolate, who has put together an absolutely fantastic set of layouts for the Strat chat. I'm super pumped. Thank you so much, Kona. I don't know if he's still around in the chat, but I can't say enough good things. I've been doing a lot of work with Kona all year. I've commissioned him for a lot of different things, including emotes. Super great guy. His artwork and his work ethic is excellent. So if you guys ever are interested in anything like that, make sure to hit him up.
Absolutely.
But with that said, it's new tonight, and so there's a good chance that I've maybe made a few mistakes or something. And so you're just going to have to let me know if something is out of whack with sound or visuals or whatever, and I'll do my best to fix it. But let me go ahead and pull up Moss's screen.
And I can't wait to. I haven't seen what this is going to look like, so I'm very excited.
Yeah, I think it looks even better. So I've got it pulled up now, which you should see on the stream in just a moment. But we're going to be talking about boss fights tonight.
Oh yeah, that's great.
Yeah, so we're going to be talking about boss fights tonight, and basically, long story short, I'm going to let Moss get started and talk through a lot of different things about Phantoon. We're not going to go like completely exhausting every tiny detail. We're just going to kind of talk about some general things, and we're also going to talk about bosses across different categories. Like, we'll take a look at Ridley. We'll talk about, old route. We'll talk about new route. We'll talk about low ice, stuff like that. So we might not get to every single thing tonight. We might extend this to next time. But the goal is to keep this strat chat under 2 hours and to cover as much boss stuff as possible, but still have time for a Q&A because, we keep getting so carried away that we miss some of the Q&A. So we're going to try to do that, and I'm going to get set up and move my save state to Phantoon. So you take it away as long as you like, Moss.
Great. Let's do this thing. So full disclosure, we're going to be talking a lot about, we're mainly going to be talking about old, like KPDR, so old route, any percent. I haven't done old route in a very long time now, so I'm a little unpracticed at doing X factors at this point. Like I spent a little bit of time before the strat chat just going back over what I used to do for X factors, but we'll see if I remember all of it. I'm essentially in every category I'm in now. I'm doing Dopplers, but we can talk about the basis of it. Okay, so a couple of things to understand about Phantoon. We should probably talk about Phantoon as basically as possible to start with. Okay, if someone can post the wiki link to Phantoon, that would be really helpful. The big thing about Phantoon, there are in total 10 patterns you have to watch out for. In the first round, there are 6 patterns, and they're based off of when Phantoon's eye opens, and we're usually calling them fast, mid, or slow. Thank you, Firebat. So left fast, left mid, left slow, or right fast, right mid, right slow. And that's based on what side Phantoon starts on and when Phantoon opens his eye. So 6 in the first round. And then there are 4 likely patterns in the second round. I say likely because there are 2 patterns that are very, very unusual. That's right fast and left mid. They happen incredibly rarely. I don't have strats for either of those. I don't know about you, Kipp, but I have no strats for those. If it happens, I just kind of like deal with it when it happens. But it's a very, very rare thing. So 6 patterns to learn in the first round, 4 patterns to learn in the second round. My piece of advice is if you're trying to learn Phantoon's patterns, figuring out when Phantoon opens his eye, I would suggest starting with just learn the second phase. There are 4 patterns in the second phase you have to watch out for. I would suggest start with that. Because as opposed to looking at it as I have to learn 10 patterns, if you work on those 4 that are in the second round, the thing is that if you, in the end, you want to try to fight Phantoon in 2 rounds. If you mess up and you can't get it in 2 rounds, or you're fighting Phantoon in 3 rounds, 4 rounds, however many rounds, the second group of patterns, the 4 patterns that I'm talking about, those recur every time. The first group of patterns, the 6 patterns at the beginning, those only happen the first time Phantoon shows up. So you only have 1 time of fighting those. But if your fight goes long and you're fighting him 3, 4, 5 rounds, you're going to see the same 4 patterns over and over again. So I would suggest if you're like really overwhelmed by fighting Phantoon, start by learning the 4 patterns that are in the second phase first. It's not as much, only 4 as opposed to looking at 10. And it's going to help you a huge amount learning those 4 patterns. I made the mistake of just starting by jumping into the early 6 patterns. And it just meant that, if I didn't land it, I was less practiced on my second patterns. So that's what I would suggest. Start by learning second patterns. Okay, so there's a couple of things that are important to know about practicing Phantoon. One thing that's kind of interesting, and this may not work for your setup. I know with some emulators this doesn't work. I'm playing on console with a save state right now. So I paused the game right when Phantoon starts to appear on screen. So the flames go in a circle, and then the flames disappear, and Phantoon starts, appearing. As Phantoon appears, I'm pausing the game for my practice. And then in the pause menu, I'm doing a quick save. So I just saved the game. Now, the way that this works is if you load the game and you hold start, so I'm holding start as the game loads, it basically buffers exiting the menu, okay? Now, that was a fast write pattern, which is great. That's like a really good one to practice. So I'm going to load again and hold start again. And you'll notice I should get the same pattern every single time I do this. This should be fast write again. Boom. If I load, hold start, I'll have the same pattern again. And boom. Okay. If you, let's say you wanted to practice that one for a little while, you've got that one down, you want to start a new pattern, all I do is go back to the menu, I just let it wait for a little while, and I resave. And now I hold start again, it should give me a new pattern. So now anytime I reload, it should give me the same pattern. This is either going to be right mid or right slow. So this is going to be a right slow pattern. So if you're trying to practice one specific pattern, this is a really good way to do it. So again, if I load, hold start, I should get a slow right pattern. Goes to the right, doesn't open. So that's the one thing that if you're trying to practice a specific pattern in the first round, this is the way I would suggest doing it. On the other hand, if you want to practice a random pattern, you can do it the same way. You just reload in the menu, wait an indeterminate amount of time, and press start. And now Phantoon's RNG has changed, and it's going to open in whatever time you press start, it's going to load a new pattern. So if you want to do a randomized Phantoon fight, that's one of the best ways to start it. I don't know if this works on all emulators. Some of the emulators, when you load in, you can't buffer an input, so it may not work for your setup, but it's a good one to start understanding. What do you have to say, Kipp? Just general Phantoon stuff.
Well, generally speaking, like when I take over for a little bit, it's probably going to be kind of extensive because I'm going to talk about, and let me preface by saying that I have a hybrid strat that I personally use that I have, like when I figured it out, I had not seen anybody else do exactly like I do. I'm sure somebody has, I just had not seen anybody. So I'm going to be talking about a very specific old route like strategy that I'm not necessarily saying is the best, but it has been very consistent for me. And I know other people like Poplars has sort of taken that idea and then like slightly changed it and stuff like that. So there are a lot of people that currently use some form of this, and it's going to take me a while to kind of go through everything. But I do think it's pretty beginner friendly in terms of like not brand new, but when you're kind of starting to get to the point where you want to shave some time. So the main thing that I just want to say generally, and then I'll let Moss do more stuff, and you can just let me know whenever you're ready for me to take over. Phantoon, and I'm going to put this on my screen for just a minute. Phantoon has 2,500 health, okay? So 2,500 health, I'm going to put that in the chat. And so it's a big numbers game. And what you need to know is a super missile is 600 of that damage. Supers normally do 300 damage, but against certain enemies, they will do double. Phantoon is one of them. Ridley is another. So what happens, though, when you hit Phantoon with a super missile is it will either kill him, or if it doesn't kill him, he will enrage. So the issue is that you want to close the fight with a super, but you want to make sure that you have Phantoon at least 1,900 damage, like you've done 1,900 damage, so that he only has 600 health left before you use the super. So it's a numbers game. You have to figure out for whatever strat you want to run, whether it's Dopplering with missiles, whether it's using X factors, with charge shots with wave, or what I do is I actually use missiles and X factor and super. You just need to know the math for whatever it is that you want to do. So X factors have 4 particles. Each particle does 300 damage. So if you get a full X factor, that's 1,200, which is just shy of exactly half of his health. So long story short, when I go over my stuff, I'm going to be talking about the number of ammo that you need and what to look for and how to adapt if you don't quite get what you need. And just know that philosophy is true about any method that you use. You just have to decide which one you're comfortable with and know all the ins and outs about it, because even though the patterns are the same, how you execute the patterns will be slightly different. So with that being said, now that everybody understands about the health and how to go about it, Moss, which one are you going to cover first?
I guess we should just talk X Factor. It's kind of the most common one that people start working on, right?
Yeah, are you going to do the one where just people do 2 different X Factors with the charge shots?
Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah,
go right ahead.
Probably the best way to do it. Okay, so Kipp was mentioning 2,500 health. If you land all your X Factors on Phantoon, so all 4 particles hit him, that is 1,200. So 2 X Factors is 2,400. You still need another 100 damage, but you generally start each round you start by hitting Phantoon with 1 charge shot, and so that will give you enough damage to get the extra 100. So 2 rounds, each round will have a charge shot and X Factor in there, ideally. Okay, a couple of things that I think are important to work on with Phantoon, and I think it's a general thing that you should start thinking about with bosses, is that you don't want to die on bosses. I would rather have a bad fight and reset than die on a boss. And in other words, I don't want Phantoon to decide my game is over. I want to beat Phantoon, and then I get the choice to decide if the round is over. So to that end, you want to avoid dying on Phantoon and all the bosses. And I think one of the most important things to understand about dealing with Phantoon is flame management. These flames are really, really annoying, especially when you're using the wave beam, because I've used the just the regular pea shooter on Phantoon, and it's much easier to hit the flames with pea shooter than it is with wave. I just find it really hard to hit the flames with your wave beam. So a couple of things to talk about with the waves. Firstly, you can't damage the flames until they've bounced on the ground. When they first come down from his eye, you cannot damage them. And also you can't get hit by them until they've first hit the ground. So that's very important. You don't want to start shooting them until after they've bounced. Ideally, you can actually shoot them right as they hit the ground. Shoot, shoot, shoot. And essentially trying to avoid them. The tricky thing is you have to be aware of which ones have hit the ground and which ones haven't, because you can kind of tell, because the ones that haven't hit the ground are actually flashing in a different way. You can run in some situations when you're surrounded by flames. You can run through or jump through the flames that haven't hit the ground yet. So that's a very important thing to first understand. Wait until the flames hit the ground before you start shooting them. Another really important thing, and it's incredibly annoying about the flames, is that the flames, once you hit them, take a long time to disappear. They have a little animation where they, get snuffed out after you shoot them. But they can still do damage in that time period. So just as an example, I'm going to shoot a flame and run through where the flame was, and I'll still take Well, that's a bad example, unfortunately. Let's do one more time. So you want to try to you have to wait after you've shot the flame. So you see, like, I shot the flame and I still took damage from it because it hadn't finished disappearing. So it's really important to understand that. If you're one way that if you find that you get boxed in, and it does happen that sometimes you get kind of zoned in, like in one little corner of the room, learning how to jump straight up and shoot down at a flame can be really handy. Again, you have to wait until the flames have hit the ground. And also, you have to jump high enough that you don't come back down and land on the flame as it's disappearing. So if you get kind of in a situation where you're boxed in like this, you see how I could kind of jump up? You can jump through the flame as it's coming down at the beginning. So it's a good thing to understand. I would suggest spending a lot of time at the beginning of trying to learn Phantoon, just working on avoiding flames, like not even fighting Phantoon, just seeing how long you can survive fighting, survive with Phantoon. And, once Phantoon goes into the raining pattern, I just shoot him until he runs away. And then just go back into just working on avoiding and managing flames, essentially. You're going to get hit every once in a while. It's just kind of part of it. And the only other thing to remember is that a pseudo screw actually can go through flames without getting hurt. This is very important for the X Factor pattern. You can just pseudo screw through all of them and you don't take damage. Okay, so in general with the X Factor pattern, what you have to do, you have to have Power Bomb selected. You have to charge up enough that you have a full charge, but not hold it so long that you actually start an X Factor. So this is kind of tricky because you have to find the right time to start charging. Then when you have a full charge, you can use the pseudo screw to jump through the ring of flames that Phantoon creates. You want to jump right through it with pseudo screw, jump right in close to Phantoon's face, and then hit Phantoon in the eye with a charge shot. So you see how I jumped through? I was a little bit late on that pattern. You want to jump through the flames and hit Phantoon right in the face with a charge shot. One other thing to remember with the charge shots is that I was saying that you don't want to hold the charge for so long that the X Factor comes out. Turning around delays the time for an X Factor to come out. So if I just sit here holding a charge and I just go back and forth, it takes a lot longer for an X Factor to come out. See how long it took for that X Factor to come out? Because your turnaround animation actually delays the X Factor. Also, you don't charge your X Factor in pseudo screw. So if you got a full charge and you're spinning, you're actually not charging. You're not going to trigger the X Factor while you're spinning. So that's another way of delaying your charge if you realize that you've charged too early. Let's. Should we talk about specific patterns, Kipp, or do you think we should just talk in general about the way that you're supposed to be fighting? Because there's so many patterns, it's kind of tricky to nail each one.
I'm gonna cover several in mine in terms of how my particular strat approaches them, but I'm gonna try to show them in a more universal way. So you can say you can continue in whatever way you want. I'll try to cover them as best I can.
Great. So I'll just show a couple of different patterns from the first round. And so you can see I'm just kind of avoiding flames. I come over here getting ready for the second one. It didn't happen. Still avoiding flames. Knowing when to charge your shot is really important. Okay, now the slow patterns in the first round are really, really easy. All you have to do is jump up and hit Phantoon and then fall straight down into the middle of the room. And Phantoon will always end up right in front of you if you get a slow pattern. So I should have this slow pattern again. Right slow and left slow are both essentially the same thing in terms of the strat. I just jump up. You're more in the middle than Phantoon when you jump up. And hit him with a charge shot. So jump up, charge shot, and I just stand in the middle. That's it. Oh, man. I might have moved a little bit too far to the right, in which case I would normally just turn back around. Like I said before, it's been a long time since I've done X Factors now, so I'm kind of a little bit underprepared for how to do these strats, but that's the big thing with the first round, is if you know your slow patterns well, then you're in pretty good shape. Let's try to get a slightly different pattern. Okay, great. This one actually kind of works the same way. If you so that's a fast right. So if you just jump up, hit him stay in the middle, jump through the flames, and then come to the middle. That's usually the easiest way. It's pretty simple. I start my charge just after Phantoon has stopped like waving. As soon as Phantoon becomes like solid, that's when I press the charge. So I'll press now. Okay. So this pattern, all I did was I stand here with the charge. I take the charge. I take damage from the flame, and then I hit him with a charge shot. I do a little hop, and then as soon as I'm at the peak of my hop, I hold right, and that's it. It's not a very hard one to do. Something to note about the early patterns is that I do my let me see, my fast left and my mid right are the same strat, because the mid right pattern ends up in the same location that fast left occurs. Likewise, fast right and mid left are the same strat. So in a sense, you're kind of just learning the same pattern for both of them. It's a little harder usually in the mid one because you have to watch out for flames. But that's let me load that fast right one more time. So as soon as Phantoon becomes solid, I just charge. Okay, so I don't know if I got this in time. Let me see if I can get this one to work. There we go. Okay. All right. So with that one, it's a little harder because I have to. Normally, I kind of saved at the wrong time. As soon as I see Phantoon in the second round appearing, I'm ready. I press charge right away for this fast left pattern. And then all I do is I land on the ground after hitting Phantoon. Once I'm on the ground, I'm to the right. So it's actually not a very hard pattern to learn. Oops, one more time. Oh, I'm cycling too many times. Yeah, I kind of saved in the wrong spot. There we go. Okay, now just go to the right, and Phantoon's killed. We should talk a little bit about flame laming. Flame lames are kind of an interesting one. I'm actually just going to go back and start Phantoon one more time. So flame lames are kind of in some ways an unavoidable part of X Factoring. Sometimes the flames just get in the way of your X Factor, just based off of where they bounce, because they're kind of random. They bounce right in the way of your X Factor. So instead of taking 4 damage on the particles, Phantoon only takes 3 damage. When that happens, it can be really bad news, because it usually means that your mid patterns, you may not be able to, well, actually with Flame Limbs is a little different, but you probably won't be able to beat Phantoon in 2 rounds. When I get Flame Lamed, I'm actually hoping for a left slow pattern afterwards, because that sort of enables me. With the left slow pattern I use, I actually shoot Phantoon an extra time in the middle. And so it gives me, the ability to, it gives me the ability to hit him a second time. Kipp, maybe you should take over a little bit. I'm having trouble doing X Factors. Like I said, guys, I haven't done X Factors in a long time now, so it's gonna be, maybe I should just talk a bit about Doppling at the end, just as a cover all bases thing.
Yeah,
you can jump on X Factoring.
I will take it from here, and I'm probably gonna need to take over for a little while because there's a lot of stuff to cover. But okay, so before I get started, let me just try to explain something. This is what I refer to as the hybrid method, but there are a lot of hybrid methods out there, just so everybody can be aware. The hybrid method that I use mathematically, I'm going to type it into the chat so that everybody can see it. Okay, so we're trying to get to 2,500 damage. Okay, I'm going to use an X factor for 1,200 of it. So I need 1,300 more damage. I'm going to use a super missile for 600 of it. So that's 1,800 total. So that means we need 700 damage from regular missiles. And regular missiles do 100 damage each. So Yeah, and before I get started, what Sloaters is saying, I was literally going to reference something that Sloaters literally said to me like 8, 9, 10 months ago, because I remember asking him about this. I can sit here and show you all day how I do it. Moss can sit here and show you all day how he does it. The simple reality, like most other things in this game, is understanding how it works is only the first step. Actually being able to grind the muscle memory and the recognition for how to adapt to what you see, there's no way anybody can teach that to you. That's something that you just have to do. I have literally, I still struggle sometimes to don't get 2-round Phantoons and old route and stuff, but I've done this fight hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of times. So you just kind of have to figure out what method you want to use and then go for it. I will say this, I do think that my method is actually pretty friendly to new players if they understand what to look for. So as y'all can see, I'm going to be trying to get 700 regular missile damage over the course of 2 rounds. So that means that I either have to have 400 damage in the first round and then 300 in the second one, or 300 in the first one and 400 in the second one. That means that I got to hit him either 3 or 4 times, okay? And if you get flame lamed and you only hit him 3 times each, and you don't adjust to that, and you fire a super missile and he's got 700 health left, it's going to be problematic. So what I'm going to do real quick is I'm just going to fight him until I get it right. And I'm not even going to mention anything. I'm just going to fight him until I get it right. And, I still mess up. I'm sure I won't do it perfectly every time. And then afterwards, I'm going to let him die, and I'm going to show you all the visual cues to look for this method. So if you are looking for a way to fight Phantoon faster and get 2 rounds, I think my method is fairly accessible, okay? But you just have to figure out what you prefer, all right? So let me just fight him real quick. I only hit him with 3 missiles that time, so I got to make sure to get 4 this time. Well, how about that? Fast, fast. There you go, ladies and gentlemen. That's how you do Phantoon. Moss, back to you. All right. So what you noticed is one thing you need to know. I'm laughing so hard that it works so easily right there. One thing that you need to be aware of is what will trigger Phantoon to disappear, okay? If you hit him with 2 missiles back to back, he won't disappear. But if you hit him with 3 missiles back to back, it will trigger him to disappear. So, and you also can hit him twice. You can hit him with 2 different cycles of 2 missiles before he will disappear. So you can technically hit him with like a pop, pop, pause, pop, pop, and he'll still be out, and you'll have already hit him 4 times. So let me talk you through real quick, physically in the room, the spaces that you need to be aware of to try to pull off this strategy if you are interested in using it, okay? So first of all, look at the floor, okay? I'm going to number these little tiles, okay? So right now I'm standing on number 1. Here's number 2. You can see clearly that there's, black lines that separate them, okay? So tile 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Depending on what patterns he's giving you, you have to know where to stand for each one. And this is something that you just got to figure out over time. But I do have a trick that can be very helpful for you for the first round. I'll show you in a minute. So number 1, be aware of these tiles. You're going to use these as visual cues, at least for the method that I use, okay? The next thing I want you to be aware of is you see these black squares? Like I'm dropping a bomb in the middle of this one on the left. There's one over here, but you don't see the whole one. There's one over here, you don't see the whole thing. Ignore these. I want you to look at this one in the middle, this black square right here in the middle. But more importantly, I want you to pay attention to the outer edges, these little lines that look like they look like a tube almost on either side, okay? These 2 specific little columns or tubes are going to be visual cues for you for the method that I use, okay? So these are the cues I'm going to use for the X factor, whereas the floor is going to be the cues that I use to know where to stand to deal with the different patterns, okay? Now, the first thing I want everybody to notice is, when you start practicing this, when you have your save state set up and he's going to give you different patterns, you're going to have to get accustomed. Like you'll notice that I don't shoot his flames out with the wave beam, I shoot him out with the missile. Technically, you could use the wave beam, but it's just the way that I learned, and it's a little bit easier because you don't have to worry about an extra input for, deselecting or selecting missiles or whatever. And to be honest with you, like, you just got to realize that, like, the more buttons you have to press for any particular strat, the more opportunity that you have to accidentally mess up. That's just the simple mathematical reality, okay? So I always shoot the flames with missiles. You'll notice that I always have them equipped. So a lot of times I will start off by shooting like 3, and the first one is intended to knock out as many flames as possible, and the other 2 are intended to hit Phantoon. Sometimes one of the 2 that I shoot to hit him won't register, and I'll need to keep that in mind for how to adjust later if I need to hit him with an extra missile before I super or something like that. But when the fight starts, you can actually reach all 6. Okay, here's the key to why I think my strat is very beginner friendly for a relatively, more advanced strat than just using like charge shots or something with like ice spacer and wave. You can actually hit all 6 of his opening patterns from this exact position that I'm standing. Okay? If you stand on the second little, tile, and you put your foot kind of like touching the crack here, if he opens fast right, it's going to be up here. You will hit him. If he opens right mid, he's going to stop right here. You will hit him. If he opens up slow right, it will be up here. You will hit him. If he opens slow left, fast left, he will open right here. You will hit him. If he opens mid left, it'll be like over here or whatever. You will be able to hit him. If he opens slow left, it will be basically dead center in the middle of the room, and you'll have plenty of time to prepare for it because you will know that he's about to do it because he's on a slow pattern. You can still hit him, but a lot of times I'll just scoot up just slightly so I can hit the middle of the room a little bit better, okay? So the first thing I want to do, this is sort of a teaching concept, and as y'all know, I'm a school teacher, so I'm going to try to give you the best way to learn this as possible. I'm going to do it one small step at a time. So the first thing I want us to do is just work on hitting him with missiles. We're not going to worry about the X factor at all, okay? Yeah, some of them are pretty tough, as Insane Firebat is mentioning. I'm not going to lie to you, it's not going to work perfectly every time. He's going to drop different flame patterns. Sometimes you're going to be trying to shoot at him, and you're going to get several missiles blocked, and it's not going to work. I mean, every single strat has its flaws or problems, but I'm going to just try to do this over and over again to try to show you that my positioning will literally be able to hit Phantoon wherever he stops, okay? And that means that you don't have to memorize a bunch of stuff, okay? So here we go. I'm just going to do this a bunch of times in a row. What are we going to get? All right. We're just going to sit still. Will it be... All right, this one's going to be obviously a slow left, so I'm just going to slightly move forward. Boom. Okay, let's do another one. But I just want you to see that it works, okay? Boom. Fast right. Got it, okay? Fast left. Got it. Fast right again. Got it. All right, hopefully he'll give me a mid right here. Mid right. Perfect. And notice that we got it. Okay. Let's do it a couple more times. I think I've gotten to the point now where you guys see that it's going to work, right? Okay. He hasn't given me all 6 of the patterns yet, but they all work, okay? All right. So hopefully he'll give me a slow right this time, which is actually in some ways the hardest one. No, he gave me another mid, okay? All right, let's keep going. We're just going to keep doing this over and over. This would be a good thing to practice. Don't try to practice necessarily like the whole fight. Just do certain things at a time, and notice that I'm trying to hit him twice and then hit him twice again. This time I'm going to hit him 3 times in a row just so you guys can see that he's going to disappear, and that's not what you want.
I think it's good to note, Kipp, that you're saying, so you want to shoot 2 groups of 2 missiles. From what I understand, you want to hit the first group. You want to hit Phantoon before Phantoon has started moving around. So after Phantoon opens his eye and releases flames, Phantoon is stationary. You want to make sure you get 2 missiles in that period, and then you want to get 2 missiles in after Phantoon has started to move.
Correct.
Because sometimes if you mistime your first 2 missiles, you space them out a little bit too far, you're actually hitting Phantoon once before he's moving, and then once while he's moving. And then if you shoot 2 more missiles afterwards, Phantoon will disappear because you've registered 3 hits after Phantoon has started moving.
Correct. So long story short, like I'll try to show you, if I hit him more than twice, like in one particular sequence without pausing, he's just going to disappear. So this time I'm just going to unload on him. All right, we got a slow left, I think. Notice that as soon as you hit him with too many, he'll just disappear, okay? So you guys get the idea. That's the first step, okay? The next step is knowing when to charge your X factor, okay? Now, I'm going to need to kill him real quick to show you. So let me just kill him real quick. As you can see, just keep watching the sort of missile. Because depending on where he comes out, you're going to have different ones. This this mid, hopefully mid pattern on the second round is the easiest one. Unfortunately, he didn't give it to me, but I'll teach you that one later. Basically, you just stand right in the middle in this corner. And, all right, cool. So we killed him. All right. So let's talk about, for a second, the X factors, okay? In my method, you only want to X factor on the first round, okay? And you got to know where to stand and when to start charging to get the X factor correctly. Now, again, this is just my particular method. I watch these 2 little tubes on this middle black square to know when to start charging, okay? If Phantoon spawns on the right side of the screen, I'm going to need to start charging my X factor as his eye, the middle of him, passes through this left one. If he spawns in like the middle or left side of the screen, I'm going to start charging the X factor as he passes through his eye, the middle of him, passes through the right one, okay? And what I'm going to do is you'll notice this is very important, and this is something that took me a long time to figure out, because some of the patterns will cause him, depending on how you move while he's going off screen, he might give you a different pattern in the way that he comes back on the screen. And some of the ones that he gives you are like very difficult to get an X factor on, okay? So what I try to do is manipulate his angle of return to be very high by standing very still. Like, no matter what he does, I usually just stand here and pop him 4 times, and he's going to hit me like once or even twice. That's one thing about my method. You're going to take some damage. It just kind of is what it is. But if you're running with enough E-tanks and, you're not getting hit by flames, it should really not be a problem. But I'm just going to stand here until he hits and passes me, and I'm going to have the power bomb selected. And as soon as he passes through whichever, column or tube that I want to go for, depending on the pattern, that's when I will start charging. And what I want y'all to see is as soon as I start charging, I will turn around and run and hug this left wall. And I will watch for Samus to flash 3 times. And on the 3rd flash, I just do a full jump. Okay, so start charging. 1, 2, 3. Boom. Okay? So long story short, if Phantoon is on the right side of the screen, watch the eye pass the left tube. If he's on the left side of the screen or in the middle, the right tube. Okay? Stand still. Let him just pass through you. Relax. Select your power bombs after you've hit him with 4. And then as soon as he goes through where you need to go, start charging, flash 3 times, jump, and your X factor should end up right up here. Okay? So I'm just going to do it a few times and see if you guys can catch the pattern, and hopefully it'll work. All right, we got a right pattern. So the next thing is going to be mid. All right, he didn't open. Notice that I fired off a missile just in case. So now I'm expecting, here's the hard one. I got to make sure I stay on the ground. Boom. Got him. If I had moved, okay? If I had moved right there and gone over here too fast and not let him like angle down at me as he passes through, he would have come back, like I guess on y'all's screen, this way. And he would have come from underneath, and it'd be very hard to hit him with an X Factor, okay? I'm just going to keep doing the fight. So remember, if he's on the right, charge at the left tube. If he's on the left, you charge at the right tube. All right, so we got another slow right, which is kind of the hardest one to learn at first. Sit still. I passes the left tube. 3 flashes. Right there. I didn't do a very good job of being in the right position, so that can happen. But that's the general principle of the fight, okay? Same thing here. Passes through. Start charging. I stayed on the ground, so he came back at a good angle. And now if it's a fast pattern, I'm going to go ahead and pop him. And notice that time, I had only gotten 3 and 3. I got flame lamed a little bit. So I didn't fire my super immediately. I knew that I had to fire a regular missile and then a super to finish the fight, okay? I'm just going to keep doing this a few times so you guys can continue to see it. But once you understand how it works, then it's just muscle memory and just getting used to it. All right, this is going to be a slow. So we on a slow pattern, a slow left, we're going to want him to pass through the right side, okay? And that time I was a little late. Sometimes you're a little late. Let me talk to you about what you can do if this happens. You want to try to run around and hopefully the flames will kill the X Factor so you can shoot again. But long story short, you can still run this the strategy typically. And if you only get 2 on the first round, you can try to X Factor on the second round again. And if you get a full X Factor, you should still kill him. So you actually have some leeway to make a mistake without completely losing the 2-round potential.
It's actually the advantage of using missiles in the second overcharge at the beginning of the fight, because if you if you miss the X Factor in the first round and you're planning to hit him with a charge in the second round, you have to wait for the X Factors to disappear, and then you have to wait the 2 seconds in order to charge up your charge shot. So it means that you're very often, if you miss an X Factor in round 1, if you get a mid pattern, you're probably not going to be able to land a charge in the mid pattern then.
That's a great point, Moss, and I made this point a long time ago when I was like learning this and trying to like talk to people about it. I'm not saying that you can't recover from a missed X Factor the other way, but I think this one is probably more forgiving, which is great for newer players. But again, it just comes down to what you like. If I were to start over, honestly, I would probably just start like learning Dopplering, but that's only because now, after a long time of playing, the Doppler is going to help me in more categories. But I do think that this will be like, you can learn this much faster and get a 2-round potential out of it way faster, usually, than learning Dopplering for 2 rounds. Honestly, I can't even get a 2-round Doppler, hardly ever. And I've practiced it a good bit. So anyway, that's pretty much the fight. The only thing you need to understand about the second round is, you want to be trying to hit your 4 regular missiles and then your super. And there's 2. We're going to stay on the ground. Passes through us. 1, 2, 3. Boom. All right, so here, I went ahead and made a save state because I guess I'm going to get the same pattern every time. Hopefully it's the mid. Perfect. Okay, this mid, this second round mid is the most common pattern. I want to show you exactly how to deal with it, especially if you've been successful. In my particular strat, all you got to do is come stand on this middle thing. As soon as he opens, boom, hit him twice. You can even back up a little bit, hit him twice with missiles, fire your super. If you were successful in the first round, this is by far the easiest one to get. With a fast, okay, with a fast, he's going to open up here on round 2. So you can just stand over here, like on the crack of the of this, I guess what you would call maybe the 5th and 6th tiles, and just fire from there. But this middle one right here, this mid pattern on the second round, is by far the easiest, probably the one you want to get, especially if you're newer. You can just stand right here, pop, got him. Easy peasy. Okay? So long story short, that's how it works. And those are your visual cues. But the simple reality is if you want to use this one or really any other strat, as Sloaters mentioned, as Insane Firebat mentioned, Wumpus mentioned, True Moss mentioned, like, there's no substitute for you doing it 100, 200, 300 times and just understanding what it feels like, okay? So at this point, I will turn it over to True Moss. Do you want to talk about Dopplering a little bit?
Sure.
Cool.
We can talk a little bit about it, sure.
Go right ahead.
All right, so before I do, though, we haven't talked about it yet, but we should talk a bit about Sunrise Surprise. If you're doing the charge shot method and you're going to be jumping
Moss,
up around Phantoon.
Yes. This is a PG-13 stream.
This is an R-rated problem.
Easy. All right, go ahead.
So Sunrise Surprise is what happens is if you jump into the middle of Phantoon's eye at the moment that Phantoon expels his flames. So the second Phantoon's eye opens, the flames go out in a circle. If you're in the middle of Phantoon's eye at that moment, you'll hit all of them at once, and it'll do a ton of damage. Anyone who's seen, I think it's AGDQ 2015, the 100% run, Epic died because of Sunrise Surprise happening. And it's really, it's something you want to be aware of and try to avoid. So I'm at 229 health right now. Let's see if I can do it. I'm just going to jump into, I was a little late. I've kind of programmed myself to not jump into Phantoon's eye, but I'm going to try to do it now. So it'll probably take about 200 damage. Assuming I can, so this is going to be a fast, slow right pattern. There it is. Yeah, it took, I'm down at 94 now. So what? It took 130 damage, somewhere around there. It's a lot of damage, right? Like you can very easily die or game over because of that. So just if you're going to be doing the jumping into Phantoon with a charge shot, just be aware that can happen. It's really, really, it really sucks if that happens, and it can definitely end your run. Yeah. So don't do that. That's a very important thing to understand. Okay. Let's actually just, I'm just gonna get rid of Phantoon for a second. Let's talk a little bit about Dopplering. Look at that screen. Let's talk a bit about Dopplering. The big thing with Dopplering is that it's all about the speed at which you're hitting your fire button. You have to space your timing for your shots in a certain way while you're moving right to left or left to right. So in order to Doppler, all you do is, if you're on the left side, you push right. And while you're moving right, you just tap at a very consistent speed the missile shots. It's about tap, 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 somewhere around that speed. Tap, 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 tap. When I'm Dopplering, I actually go into piano grip at that moment. So I will, rather than using my thumb to go tap, 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 I actually bring my hand around and I use my finger and I go tap, 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 tap. I find that way more consistent. You may not, but in order to get a consistent timing on the Dopplers, that's what I find is the easiest thing. So that's the way I suggest you work on doing, do what feels comfortable to you. But if you find that you're having trouble keeping the tapping consistent, switching to doing a tapping with your index finger as opposed to your thumb might be easier for you. That just feels better for me. Okay, so I guess I'll just load up and we'll just do a fight. I'm going to turn off. I'm not used to doing it with wave. Normally, if you're doing it in the new route, you'll be doing it without. You'll be using just your pea shooter. So anyway, I set up right here and I crouch. That's sort of my starting place to do this setup. Sort of what Kipp was talking about at the beginning. If you're wondering, if you don't know if you're going to get a fast left or a fast right, this location works great for me. So I'll be ducking. And in a location where essentially my foot while ducking is right in line with this black line here. So the reason I do that is if Phantoon goes right, I can shoot and get rid of all the flames. If Phantoon goes left, I can shoot and get rid of all the flames. So it's just it's the spot that I like the best. You have to find your own positioning for something like this. Anyways, so again, flame management's really, really important. I'm gonna, I know it's gonna be the slow pattern at this point. This is my least favorite pattern of all of them. Hit him twice. I usually just jump over Phantoon, wait a little while, and I actually got 7 shots in that time. I'm for me Dopplering, I'm trying in the first round to get 7 shots while Dopplering. If I get 6, it's okay. I can still do a 2-round, but 7 just makes things a little bit a little easier. So I'm gonna do a big jump here, just like that, just tapping. So in terms of numbers with Dopplering, if you're just using missiles and super missiles, okay, 2,500. 600 damage is by the super at the end. I think that's correct. Yeah, 600 damage. So you need to do 1,900 damage to Phantoon. You're gonna do, ideally, you're gonna hit Phantoon with your P shot, and that's gonna destroy all the flames. Then you're going to do 2 missiles before Phantoon starts moving. Then 2 missiles again after Phantoon started moving. So that puts you at 4 missiles in a round. And then you're going to start Dopplering. So each round, you optimally want to start by hitting Phantoon with 4 missiles. So if you do 2 rounds, those opening barrages of missiles will be 8 missiles if you get both rounds correct. So, okay, that's 8 of 19 missiles. That means you have to get 11 more missiles in order to do a proper 2-round. If you want to do a 3-round, you can space them out a lot, and it's not a big deal. So that essentially boils down to round 1, you want to do 6 missiles, and round 2, you want to do 6 missiles, and then quickly switch to a super and fire a super afterwards. So that's a lot. Generally, if you're trying to look at doing Dopplering, I suggest working on doing as stable a 3-round as you can. So a stable 3-round is actually not too hard. If you can get 3 or 4 missiles in each Doppler, then actually, if you can get 3 in one round and 4 in the next round, so 3 and 4, then the next time, the 3rd round, you don't have to Doppler at all. All you have to do is hit Phantoon with the opening 4 missiles, and then hit Phantoon with the super afterwards. So we're going to show just like a really basic, like I'm aiming for doing a 3-round in this situation. So I'm going to just farm a little bit, hang out. I'm going to come over here. This is my favorite pattern. Unfortunately, actually, I messed it up. All right, I got, I think, 6 in, but I'm not certain. So if it's, that's a really rare pattern. I was not expecting that. So if you get 6 in the first round, you only need 5 in the next round. Unfortunately, I'm kind of low on missiles. We're going to farm and hope for some missile drops. No such luck. All right. So all I did there with the 3-round is I did, I think, 5 in the first round. I did 4 in the second round. And then the 3rd round, I just did no Dopplering. I just started the round with 2 missiles, waiting an instant, 2 more missiles, and then hitting with a super right afterwards. So doing so fast right, that's very unusual. Second round. So let's just do it a couple more times just to kind of show it. This is just a stable 3-round fight. As stable as you can get, I guess. This pattern is my least favorite. I really hate this one in the first round. Oh, man, I really missed the timing on that one. Okay. So, whatever. We're just going to... All right, I think I only got 3 on that round, so I want to try to get some more in the next round. All right, I'm doing bad at this job right now. I've been doing RBO at this point for so much time that I'm kind of like forgetting how to do Phantoon. All right. So generally I tend to, oops, I forgot to switch the missiles. Generally in most situations, I'm going left to right with my missiles. The easiest way that I found to set up Phantoon is usually Phantoon kind of swoops around the room. Unless you're already on the left side of the room, I let Phantoon I jump over Phantoon in a big pattern, then turn around, wait for an instant, and then just start Dopplering to the side. So that wasn't a great start, but 1, 2. Again, I'm just going to grab all these, wait for a second. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7. That was 7. That was really lucky. That's probably enough, actually. I'm going to grab these, 1, 2, and a super, and we're good. It is a little bit it is possible that you might shoot your super missile too early. Generally, that's a reset. If you want to deal with the enraged pattern, the easiest way is just using pseudo screw and just pseudo screwing through the flames as they come. Let's just do it a couple more times. The most important thing is when you're doing Dopplering is you really don't want to rush the timing on your Dopplers. Like if you start pushing too fast, you're actually going to miss a bunch of shots. Man, I'm getting this. Man, wow, I switched to supers by accident. If you shoot too fast, you're probably going to miss a missile, and then you're going to actually end up like hitting or deactivating Phantoon. So Phantoon will go away. So you have to watch out. You don't want to rush the time on your Dopplers. So I missed one. I also have high jump boots on now. I just realized that all my jumps are a little bit different because I have high jump on right now. But this is essentially the idea. Like I said, it's a little easier to use P-Shot to get rid of the flames, I find. All right, so it's still a 3-round. So I hit him with a bunch. If I'm going for a 3-round, I'm not really sure. All I'm hoping to do is hit him with enough that then I can go 1, 2, 1, 2, and a super and finish him off. That's as basic a way of explaining it as possible. It's pretty hard though. Like, there's really no explanation we can say beyond you have to practice Phantoon a lot. Like, that's it. You just got to grill Phantoon for a long time to get good at him. And even when you do, Phantoon is still going to surprise you. He'll throw out random flames and, or close his eye really quickly. Basically everything can go wrong with the Phantoon fight. It's why it's nice with New Route that you get to fight Phantoon first.
Absolutely. So, Moss, I'm going to turn this over to my screen for a minute. And what we're going to do now is, we're still obviously trying to get as good and tight as we can on presenting these strat chats in the, appropriate time or whatever. We're really trying to keep it under 2 hours or right around 2 hours each time. And we also want to make sure that we have plenty of time for the Q&A. So we were planning on talking about bosses. Like normal, you end up taking more time than you might would think. But I think this was good because we exhausted a lot of information about Phantoon. And I think what that will mean for next time is that'll give us time to talk about Dragon, which is pretty consistent around most categories other than like low ice, I guess. Well, I'll take that back. I guess if you're doing RBO, it's weird. But next time we'll talk a little bit about sort of traditional Dragon and Ridley. But I want to make sure we have plenty of time to do some Q&A or just general strats that we've been working on or that people want us to talk about, okay? So at this point, I'm going to make a conscious effort here that we're going to move on to the Q&A portion. And at this point, we're going to spend the next, 15, 20 to 30 minutes, whatever, answering any questions you guys have. We will cover anything that you want us to talk about. And if nobody asks any questions, I'm sure that, Moss and I can show a few things that we've been working on in some of our runs or whatever. So, Moss, at the moment, is there anything that you feel like strat-wise is something that you'd really like to cover while maybe some people come up with questions, or is there anything that I guess you've been doing RBO, right?
Yeah.
So why don't you, Moss? Why don't you show us how to do the last spark in the escape? Is that something?
Wow, that's below the belt, buddy.
Dude, I'm just kidding with you. I have died in more ways than you can possibly imagine in RBO, some of which are incredibly stupid, so trust me, I feel your pain. Keep going in, Sloaters. But is there anything in particular that you want to go ahead and cover? Or if not, I've got some things I can talk about, but we really want to take questions. We want to make sure that people, buy into the Q&A portion. So if anybody has any question about anything in the game, feel free to put it in the chat for us.
Well, Kipp, if you have something, why don't you start with that, and I'll think of something I can show.
Okay. So real quick, I'm going to keep this kind of old route specific. Okay. So let's imagine that we just finished killing Phantoon, and let's imagine for a moment that I'm going to go ahead and refill. clearly I don't have, like I wouldn't have this much, I wouldn't have 10 supers at this juncture. Like I'd be picking up the second super missile pack, and I wouldn't have, 3 E-tanks worth of health. But let's just go from here and talk about heading up to the attic and a few things you can do in the attic, especially if you're new, to make it go a little bit faster. So I'm going to head out of here, and I'll go ahead and save state this, okay? And I'm not going to talk too much about going up through here. Notice this door, like the door transitions are something you want to kind of pay attention to as you get used to the game. But one thing I want everybody to see in this particular room is when you drop your bomb to get up here in old route, you want to go ahead and make sure that all of these blocks that are up here are already knocked out, okay? And there's different ways to do that. Obviously your wave beam can go through walls, right? But notice that if you just get up here and shoot straight in front of you and then straight angle to the right or angle up, you actually won't hit one of them, okay? So there's different methods that you can use to make sure that you get that one. One thing you can do, like let me save state this. One thing you can do is as you jump, if you fire like as her head hits the top of the thing and just fire forward, it will knock it out, and you can go ahead and drop your bomb and even like shoot like another angle shot up if you need to. Okay, but that's just kind of a little time saver that you can be aware of. You just got to get the right pattern on it. A lot of times, newer players will get to this part and they won't know how to hit that, and they'll hit a bomb and then they'll have to drop another bomb, and it just takes some time. So just kind of be aware that you're trying to knock them all out if possible before you get up here. Okay, in this particular room, this is going to be one of those opportunities where you can see hitbox manipulation. Okay. In one of the very first Strat Chat episodes that we discussed, we talked about the idea that your hitbox is different sizes depending on what position you have Samus in. In a standing position, it's very large. When she's spinning, it's smaller. When she's crouching, it's smaller. When she's in a ball, it's smaller. You get the idea. When you press down, though, when you're in the air and you press down, you're actually making your hitbox smaller. So if I enter this room and just hold left, you will note that I get hit by that little spark right there, right? But if I hold down as I fall off the ledge, my hitbox is compressed to the point where I actually will not take damage, okay? So that's something you can be aware of in this room, okay? Technically, you could try to jump across, but usually it's a little bit difficult to have the right momentum. So a lot of times what I do in this room is I will just fall off, press down and then jump up. And this is an excellent way to get used to the idea of pressing down. I know when you're a new player, like I watch new players a lot, and I remember distinctly when I was a new player, I avoided for a long time trying to press down because it just felt so unnatural, especially in the middle of doing other things. But this is one of those rooms where you can just kind of go ahead and start doing it and growing accustomed to it. You really got to train yourself to be trying to do it. Static, feel free to, and anybody else, feel free to post any of your YouTube videos that you're talking about. Like if I'm showing something and you do it a slightly different way or you have a better method, absolutely go ahead and post those. You've added a bunch of stuff in the past, and shout outs to Static too. He's actually helped me with a few strats, and Hundo as well lately. So feel free to add whatever you want. But as you enter this room, just press down. You'll clear it. You can jump up here. Okay. You can deboost to get out of here, but I don't want to focus on that. What I'd like to focus on now is sort of an easy method to get through this room, okay? This is one of those rooms that can go kind of poorly. You don't want to be up in the air for too long because it's just really slow. But at the same time, if you try too hard, you won't get there, right? So just try to find like a comfortable speed, releasing a jump. But I always select missiles and just pop this guy 3 times, and sometimes you can collect the drop. Okay, like let me get it back up to him. I've been doing this for a while. It's fairly simple. I think it's probably a pretty good strat for newer players. But if you have missiles selected and you jump up here, basically you can just pop him 3 times and wait just a slight second to pick up his drop. Sometimes you might actually need some health, and so he'll drop like a big health sometimes. Right now he's dropping missiles because I'm full. But it's really easy to kind of kill this guy and then do one little hop, and then you get in the right position to jump up here before that guy, the second guy, will come up and hit you. So this is not like the most optimal thing, but it's pretty friendly for newer players. And here I want to talk about attic for a minute, because the attic is a strat, or it's a room that's actually pretty complex, depending on what category you're running. And I want to show like the easiest, what I consider to be the easiest possible sort of fast strat for this room. I still use it sometimes, like I have other methods that are a little bit faster, but I can still double back to this one that I've used for a long time. It's slightly slower than some of the other ones, but it's still a lot faster than what newer players usually do. So what you want to do is you want to have a power bomb selected, and you want to jump through this door. And what you're trying to do is get a mock ball to get underneath this guy, okay? Like that. So what's going to happen is, I'm going to try to save state this. You want to try to jump, like, you don't want to hug this wall and jump straight up, but you kind of want to be jumping at that wall. That should do it, okay? And notice that I'm holding jump, okay? Like, I'm holding jump through the transition, but as soon as I'm in the door transition, I let go, okay? I let go, and then I hit jump again and double tap down to do the mock ball. Boom. Okay? And if you do that, you will end up over here. If you don't get the mock ball, that guy will hit you, okay? But here's the method that I try to use, okay? This is an easier one for newer players, and it helps with farming. If you drop it and then stop right here, you can actually jump over like that little key hunter and shoot that atom one time, and that will kill that atom when the power bomb hits it, and you can stand still and run to the right. What that's going to do, like that method particularly, will stop you from getting hit by this little guy right here, because if you're trying to do a short charge and you run at the wrong time, you're going to run into this, take damage, and it's going to stop your momentum. And this has happened to essentially everybody. So one way to keep that from happening is if you stay on the screen with it like this, jump over this guy and shoot, and then collect his drop, you can just do a one tap right here to finish out the entire attic. And I just want to, again, kind of emphasize the fact that you're just going to kind of stand still and get the drop, which helps you. You do a one tap, and then you're over here. And we've talked, taps before. The idea of tapping is tapping the dash button on the correct frame, that her foot or arm, depending on which method you want to use or what you want to look at. You have to be careful, though. If you don't set the power bomb at the right place, like I did a few times, it won't kill that other key hunter. But generally speaking, you can get your charge. And what you want to do at this point, like I'm going to save state this real quick. So we're doing a one tap, right? So you got plenty of time to get this one tap. And what you want to do is you kind of want to aim for like above this kind of like little blue square thing in the background. But you don't want to be too high, because what will happen if you're too high is you will run straight into that guy, okay? So you kind of got to get used to being just slightly above that blue guy and getting it. And
I sort of use those TV screens in the background, like that sort of greenish square.
Yeah.
I kind of use that as my reference in terms of how high I am in order to do a proper shine spark.
That's a good one too. So long story short, this is one of those rooms where, like, I remember when I first started, I think this was the first time when I learned this strat, this was the first time that I was like, oh, sweet, dude. Like I got one of those real speedrunning strats, you know what I mean? And to be honest, even though it's fairly easy, this looks pretty swag, right? So it's cool to utilize shine sparks to get across rooms and kill enemies. And it's a lot faster than what a lot of newer players will do by just running in and shooting everything and taking damage or whatever. So it's a little tricky at first getting the mock ball, but if you can get that, the one tap is actually pretty easy. And you just jump, tap up one time, left and jump. That's how you get the shine sparks. Okay, I would recommend learning this as a newer player. If you're already to the point where you're skipping grapple and you know how to do at least some form of short charging to get across the moat and whatnot, then this is a really easy transition and will be much faster than just coming in here and shooting everything and stuff like that. Okay, all right, True Moss. Let's see if we got any questions.
Yeah. Feel free to post questions, guys, or things you want to talk about. While we're waiting for posts, let's look at the worst room in the game a little bit.
Okay, I will toss it over to you, Moss.
Great.
Oh yeah, dude, this is a beautiful one. This changed my life when you showed this to me.
The Strat?
Yep.
Yeah. The worst room in the game is it's a good name for the room. Not necessarily in every category. Hundo, it's not so bad. But the big thing about this room is there are a lot of different ways to get up. Some are pretty slow. I know a lot of people just essentially charge shot and shoot up and kill all these guys, and then do some sort of dropping a power bomb and then either space jumping or wall jumping your way up. It's fine, you know, if you can do it. It's definitely a safer way of doing it, but it is pretty slow. Yes, actually, Static 9 brings up a very good point that the worst room in the game is a lot less laggy on the practice ROM. Depending on which category you're going for, it's very noticeable. When I was practicing doing low ice, I couldn't practice it on the practice ROM. I had to just load up the actual game and practice it on the real game because the timing is completely different. There's so many enemies in this room and the lag gets crazy. There's a couple of ways that people will do this. The most common thing that you'll see top runners do is they will freeze, not this lowest one, the key hunter that's right here. They'll freeze that key hunter, then jump on top of it, drop a power bomb, land on the key hunter again. Well, let me show it to you. So we'll go up, freeze this guy, drop a power bomb, and then jump up somehow. There's a number of ways that people will do it. Some people will actually just freeze kill this guy as well. I don't actually even know how to there, something like that. And then it has to be a little faster than that, but I don't kill that guy. The thing about freezing this key hunter is the trick is in placement of your shot. If you shoot straight up at this key hunter, your plasma shot will actually hit the key hunter twice and kill the key hunter. And so if you're trying to jump on top of it, that is not what you want to do. So one strat that I've seen a lot of runners use is they'll sort of stand roughly around here, sort of right in the middle of this platform, and they'll shoot straight up. Now, this is an interesting thing because it does work, and in some, it only hits the key hunter once. But the very important thing about this is if you're going to do this shot, you have to jump. Because what happens is when you jump past the key hunter. And when you jump past the key hunter, they stop climbing and they actually turn around to shoot at you. And when they do, the key hunter's hitbox actually moves a little bit over to the side. So you actually hit the key hunter if you're shooting from this position. So if I just shoot straight up without jumping, I'm not going to hit that key hunter. But if I shoot and jump, you see how the key hunter starts the turnaround animation at that moment? Sorry, Space Pirate. I keep calling it Key Hunter. Space Pirate, you're right. You notice how that Space Pirate is, it actually goes into a turnaround animation. So if you're going to do the upshot, you have to jump in order to hit it. I don't really like that strat, though. I find it sometimes I just miss the location. Yes, Key Hunter is wrong. So what I do is I do an angle down shot. I come into this room holding charge and holding angle down. The reason I start with holding angle down is it actually stops me immediately as I come into the room. I jump up onto this platform, and then as I jump past this key hunter, I just hit the key. Sorry, I'm just going to call it the Space Pirate. Sorry, I'm just going to hit the Space Pirate's feet, with the angle shot. If you're too high, you're going to hit the Space Pirate twice, and you're going to kill it. So you have to make sure that you shoot relatively low just to hit the pirate's feet. After that, I jump on top, and I jump straight away and ball up. So from that location, I drop a bomb on the way while I'm going up, and then I move over to the left a little bit. The reason I don't come back down in the exact same location is that sometimes, not always, but sometimes if you place your power bomb in the wrong spot, it didn't happen that time, but you can actually get like boosted back up. You can essentially bomb jump off of the power bomb if you're in the wrong spot. I'm a little too early, but it is something that can happen. So when I drop the power bomb, I always move a little bit to the left to avoid that. So drop the power bomb, move a little to the left. At the height of the jump, I'm also going to unmorph. So power bomb left and unmorph. The reason that I do that is it actually kind of delays the timing of the space pirate on the right that jumps across at you. And so I just unmorph there. And then you're actually able to jump straight through this space pirate that jumps right to left because the power bomb sort of hits his invulnerability frames. So you've got a pretty good window once the power bomb hits. As long as the space pirate is inside the blast radius, you can jump straight through him. So it's a really I find this a really stable way of doing this strat. I find it much easier than doing the angle up shot. I know that Caught Power has some strat like this. I don't remember exactly what it is, but there's a strat where Caught like freezes the guy on the right or something like that, and then gets on top of the one on the right. I don't know exactly what it is, but it is a pretty interesting one. But I don't know what that one is exactly. So yeah, that's basically it. It's a really once you kind of learn it, you have to put a lot of time into this lower section. The upper section is pretty easy. The only thing about if you want to do the ball over the head here, I suggest don't stand right on the far edge of this platform. Come in a little bit this way, because the ball over the head is much easier if you're more to the left than right on the edge of the platform. So one more time, unmorph, head to the right, wall jump, ledge grab your way up, come a little to the left, and then just ball up and go to the right.
And I'm going to add something to this real quick. I still use this exact strat in all of my old route runs and anything that doesn't have screw attack or whatever. And one thing I think I think this strat has two super huge benefits. Number one, this is a room that takes newer players a long time to get through if they don't have like a really good strat. Secondly, the simple reality is this game is very difficult, and the reason it's difficult is because of the difficulty of the inputs and a lot of times having to do multiple things with multiple fingers at once. This is one of those strats where it might be the first time that you have to learn how to release jumps in the middle of jumps and release charge shots at exact times. I remember when Moss first showed me this strat, it took me a long time at first.
It does take a long time.
But at the same time, that ended up being really good training for other strats later. So it's just kind of getting your body. It's almost like playing drums in a way. Or I guess any instrument. It's just training your body to understand how to do multiple things at the same time to the point where it will eventually become more natural to you. So thank you very much for showing that one, Moss. And
Sure.
Guys, I think we're going to wrap it up right there. Let me cut this to the end. We only have a few minutes before 2 hours, so I think this is a perfectly timed strat chat. Moss, we finally did it, man.
2 hours, yeah, on the nose.
And so we had an excellent interview. I want to once again give a huge shout out and thank you to Sloaters27 for coming on and chatting with us and talking a little bit about the tournament and his practice methods and whatnot. Make sure to go follow him if you don't. Not only is he an awesome runner, very skilled, but he's a really nice guy and will help everybody out. He's just like most of us in the Super Metroid community, very helpful and wants to see people improve. And we hope that you got something out of the information with Phantoon. We will do more ball stuff 2 weeks from now. And Moss, I will let you have the final word before we wrap it up.
All right, well, thanks everybody. Yeah, it was a great night, great episode. Thanks, Sloaters. Feel free, also if anyone thinks of rooms that they're having trouble with, strats that they don't really understand, basic mechanics that they don't really get, feel free to reach out to either of us. If we can either look at it in our own streams or message you about it or send you clips, or we can, if you decide, I'm really having trouble with this room, and you message us, we can talk about it on the following strat chat. So
absolutely,
talking, feel free to ask us anything. There's a lot of great runners out there to ask. Sloaters is also an excellent teacher of this game. Sephi is a really good person to talk to. If you can get a hold of someone like DBX, who's like the ultimate teacher of this game, or maybe Fuzda is another good example. We got to get Fuzda on at some point.
Yeah, I've tried. He never responded, but I'm gonna keep pestering him because he's definitely somebody that you want on this show because in a lot of ways Fuzda is like the master of understanding everything about this game.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, so feel free to ask us or questions or message us. We're pretty friendly people, and we just like talking about this stuff a lot. So and helping people out. So let us know if you have questions. We've been kind of maybe at some point we might do a run analysis or something like that.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
If you have a run that you're happy with your time, and you want to try to improve, or rather you feel that you've done everything you can with this run, with what currently. If you want to send us a video of your run, we could maybe even do like a show where we look at a run and talk about some things that you should start considering. So yeah, I think that's it.
Absolutely. So guys, once again, big shout out to Kona Chocolate to close for the updated layout and stuff, and there's a few other things I have to do to adjust them, but it looks excellent. Thank you so much, Kona. And I'm going to try at this point to have, like when we close the show, I'm going to go back to our main stats and play the outro music, which is something we've never done before. So at this point, we're going to be shutting down on our mics. Moss, thank you so much, man. It's always a pleasure. And, as I mentioned to you earlier, don't even sweat that escape. I am super confident that within a day or two, you'll have a time even better than that one. So just keep at it.
Well, thanks. Yeah. I'm doing RBO right now.
Yeah.
So if anyone wants to come and watch me die a million times, feel free to come over to my channel.
Yeah. And so everybody, I'm also going to stream shortly. I'm going to actually do the outro music, and then I'm going to cut stream for a little bit and take care of a few things with OBS because I have to make some adjustments with my normal stream. And then I'll be back in a little while for a little late night hundo action. So good night, everybody. If I see you later, great. If not, then I will catch you later, hopefully on a future Strat Chat. We'll be back again 2 weeks from now. Hopefully next time on Thursday like normal. Unfortunately, we had to move to nights. But anyway, good night. Y'all take it easy.
Good night, everybody.